session that we're going to have here. Today we have joining us Jackie from the Orange team, and she has two other Orange specialists here to talk to us about how do we design an environment for kids and students on a budget. That's the important key, on a budget. How do we decorate classrooms? How do we have music that plays? How do we set the atmosphere for kids to come in and feel special, like it's just for them? But how do we do that on a budget? That's what we're gonna learn here today. Now, just one quick housekeeping thing before we turn it over to Jackie and her team. We are in our very last Battle Academy for this season. So this is all that we have through the summer, but we hope that you'll join us again in the fall as we restart our Battle Academy for the new season. If you have any topics that you are interested in learning more about or being trained on, please send those to me at melissa.powell@uss.salvationarmy.org, because I would love to get a training set up to help you with whatever it is that you need. So please send me your ideas to that email address, okay? All right, I'm gonna give it over to Jackie and her team.
Friends, thank you for joining us. We are going to be talking about how to design environments on our favorite thing, a budget. And I have invited two of my absolute favorite people here, Gay Tusaroni and Barbara Graves. They are both Orange specialists, but they also work specifically with their churches, specifically with the curriculum. So they have a lot of background knowledge of how to actually pull off Orange at a church and how to do it in under a couple of dollars, because we know that we don't always have a ton of money to spend. And we are going to jump right in, and I'm going to ask them a couple of questions. The first one being, what is the goal when you're designing environments? What is the thing that you really want to come across when you do these things?
So, I just think the goal is you want kids to come into the room and to be engaged and to look around and go, "Ooh, this is going to be fun." Because we all know that trying to keep kids engaged with what we're doing can be a block to start with. So if they come into the room going, ooh, this is fun, and not like it's got to be crazy, but just something that says, this is going to be a fun place today. I want to be here. Let's see what we're going to do. It is a great start.
Mm-hmm. Gay, would you like to add?
I would concur with my friend Barbara. Yeah, definitely just something that makes it look different, because if you're walking into the same space that later you might be eating dinner in that same space, or you might but just something that doesn't, it literally does not have to be $1 million, but and I think even beyond the kids, I think leaders, it really, the surprising thing to me sometimes is when leaders remark on, I noticed you did this. So I had a leader once that said, I can't wait to see what's going to be up here next month, which really challenged me, because I thought, oh man, I better make it good. But just something that says, this is going to be a fun day. This is going to be a fun space.
I love that, especially for TSA, because we have kids who come for weekly programs too. So the idea that they see the room on a Wednesday and then on Sunday is completely different. That's kind of a fun to show, like, Sunday is different. Sunday is going to be this special thing. That's awesome. Okay, this is a big one. How and why should we cast vision for why it's important to create environments? Because if we do have limited budgets, sometimes it might seem a little bit silly to spend it on any sort of decoration instead of anything like really ministry specific that we can get. So how can we kind of explain that to people, that this is something that's important?
Yeah, so, I think we can look to other organizations and places that look to engage kids. I think about the schools. When kids go to school, when they walk into a classroom, obviously what the teachers want is for kids to learn information, but they don't just sit them down in a blank room and teach them that information. There are things in the wall to help them build some interest of what's going on. They decorate that to engage them, some visuals. So I think if the schools see that, that's an important thing, that I think we can take a cue from that's valuable. On the other side of that, entertainment. We look at Disney, the fun part of Disney, well, they're all fun parts, but you can come in and just ride the rides. You could just go from thing to thing to thing and ride the rides, and that could be great. But look at how much they invest in just that every aspect of what a kid sees when they come in just brings them in. So I think, we can take some cues from other organizations too.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, definitely. I think, you know, just you have to look at your audience. Like kids like fun and they
Hmm.
I know this is my soapbox that I'm join everyone to be up here with me is kids are worth the investment. I mean, they are worth
Hmm.
the investment that we can say a lot of things about, the next generation or what uh, but are, until we're really willing to literally put our money where our mouth is, even
Yes.
if it's $5, okay, and sometimes, I know we're going to talk a little bit about this. Sometimes it's not even money, it's the asking people, asking,
Hmm.
hey, what's in your basement? What's in your, what were you going to put in the yard sale, but that I could really use it. So sometimes, the effort's going to come in not even just what you spend, but figuring out who your resources are, who are your
Hmm.
people that have stuff. But again, just, oh my gosh, kids are worth it, that
Hmm.
you just, especially when you have kids that aren't in a place too often that makes them feel special and unique. Like,
Yes.
oh my gosh, like this is the place to make when they walk in to go, this is my place. And somebody really thought about what is my place going to look like? What is it?
Hmm.
What is going to be the thing that makes me go, "Oh, this is amazing." So yeah,
Hmm.
I've spent a lot of my many long years, investing in kids, and
Hmm.
they're so worth it. Oh my gosh, they're so worth it. I guess that would be the drum I'd keep beating is kids are worth it. They're worth whatever we put into it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great drum to keep beating. But I love that you mentioned not just focusing on the money aspect, because I think we can get caught up in, I don't have money to do this. I don't have, the value. I can't create and build a new set every month. I can't go out and spend hundreds of dollars on balloons and decorations, and just kind of reminding ourselves that that's one aspect of it. But we can be ministry people are the most creative people possible. Like how we can turn one thing into another thing is just an art form in and of itself. So just kind of keeping resources in mind more than things to purchase is really good point. Okay, knowing that we have limited budgets, maybe limited resources, what are some small things that can make the biggest impact? If we only have so small of a budget and we really want to maximize what we can do, what are some things that you think are really good to focus on?
So, this might turn your words around backwards. But so I found when the church where I volunteer, when I first started there, we were in a theater. So we had to come
Okay.
in and try to do something in a space, really quick. And we was a church plant, so we had no money. It was just like
Mhm.
very, very little. But what I found is that rather than trying to do a whole bunch of um, little things around and buying lots of
Mhm.
specific things, if I could just find something that would make big, it was a big visual. It didn't have to be
Oh,
simple.
okay.
I could get a piece of fabric, which is actually what we did, some strips of fabric and Velcro them to the wall so we could
Mhm.
take them down with us. But when they came in, it was like, whoa, it wasn't expensive.
Right.
It wasn't a big thing, but we could take, a box and make two big props that really
Mhm.
caught your eye, even though, and they were super inexpensive, but because there were a couple of big things, they made a big impact for a little bit of investment, a very little bit of money, and just maybe a little extra time to create it. But we took things and supersized them, and only needed a couple, and it would grab your attention.
Oh, I love that. That actually reminds me of a camp that I worked at. The theme for the summer was on treasure, and they built this giant treasure chest in the dining hall because that was the only time all of us were really together. And that was, I don't want to say 20 years ago. And I still remember that giant treasure chest that
Right.
they built themselves with random dollar store gold coins and inflatable palm trees. And I
Yeah.
still can picture that one set that we had the entire summer, all 12 weeks of summer, same set, the only thing that really was around the theme. And I can still absolutely like picture that in my mind. So you're right, like one big thing might be better than a million tiny things that spread apart maybe don't make that impact.
Right. Mhm.
Awesome.
Yeah, the thing about a million tiny things, especially, and I love a million tiny things.
Yeah.
But, especially if this is something you have to set up and tear down every week, you don't want there to be a million tiny things. I mean,
That's a good point.
the more big impact things that you can make. I know one thing that the church I'm at now, because when I first started there, I don't really know if they had a budget, but so the budget was my budget, like coming out of the Gay to Cerrone checking account. So I would get I know with 252 and I think in First Look they have these monthly posters that they're for the quality they are not expensive and but they're big and they're colorful. I know 252 actually has the movie poster ones that
Oh
are
yeah.
I want to say they're like 2 by 3. I mean they're pretty good size, but and something like that you could like over the year you could keep something, if you're able to keep that up, make a wall of almost use it as a review. But yeah, I would say anything that's kind of big and that you can reuse. I mean, oh my
Yes.
God, I have reused. Our church had these old, I'm sure, look in your basement, look somewhere. There are those ficus trees that everyone uses to decorate. And my church, it has been the Garden of Eden. It has been Jesus and Gethsemane. It's been all the things. We hang stuff on it. And something that our kids liked, and I don't know, maybe it was just our kids. If you could hang things from the ceiling, but like not crazy things, always out of reach, but it seemed like it made the room just, I don't know, just made it look different.
Yeah.
But even to Barbara's point, just like streamers, they're inexpensive. Dollar Tree, Walmart does not have them anymore. Just like where we live, I can never find them. But anything that just changes the color of the room or the atmosphere, and when you're getting, even if you make an initial investment, just always think about how can I repurpose this, because I know our church in Savannah, we had the big blocks that, I mean, sometimes people stood on them to teach, sometimes it was used as a set, but we reused those jokers like every other month. So yeah,
That's smart.
just think of what is that, when you're looking at the theme or the month, just think through like what are one or two kind of big items that I could come up with that are gonna, like the treasure chest. You think how amazing, 20 years later, you may not remember what they taught, but you remember, and if you think hard enough, you'll remember what they taught.
Like, I know it's on treasure. It was great, but that's all I remember was the treasure chest.
Jesus is a treasure. I know. I remember that.
Right. It was there. I'll jump in just to say, they mentioned my favorite place, Walmart. Between Walmart and Home Depot, just walking down and just you can see things and go, "Ooh, we could use that." But even in the paint section, when we go to the paint and buy those cheaper drop cloths, they would have those canvas drop cloths that you fold out. That great, and then we could just throw whatever kind of color we could spray paint, and you could put some kind of design. And then we put that up on the wall. Again, we had a strip way up high of Velcro that was kind of hidden that we left. And then we would just pull our piece down because it had the other piece of Velcro on it. And when we came in, we Velcroed our backdrop, which was this big drop cloth.
Sheet. Yeah.
And you could, like I said, you could make whatever on it. Super cheap, super portable, super quick, but it was big. It was colorful, or it was whatever we wanted it to be. And those were just go-tos for us. So easy in Walmart.
This moves right into my next kind of last point of tips and tricks. And I love that you mentioned Home Depot, as that has become recently my favorite place. That is now Disneyland to me. Yeah. I will say an untold treasure is the Oops paint in the back of the paint section. For like 50 cents, my front door has been painted with 50-cent Oops paint. My bathroom vanity has been painted with $1 Oops paint.
Right.
It's like I don't understand why people don't get on this. Like, I'm praying people don't know about this section. I feel like maybe I shouldn't have said this because they're going to take my Oops paint. But there's just so many things. And in this pandemic, I have been forced to DIY a lot of things and buy myself a ton of tools and learn how to do this. I now want to go to my church and be like, I can build a set for you. I can build these things for you. I've learned how to do this. So asking people whom you may not think as being the most DIY handy person, maybe they're willing to jump in and build something for you. Not that I'm volunteering for every core in Georgia, but if you have a simple set, I can help out with that. But Home Depot, like they give you casts off if you need it. They have like cork board you can buy for really cheap that they can cut up for you. Whiteboards they can cut up for you. Like you wouldn't think Home Depot, not the first thought that I would have, but they have such infinite supplies that you can use. So any other tips and tricks that you guys have for designing on a budget?
Oh my gosh. I wrote down oops because I thought, oh, oops. Here's another thing I found at Home Depot was the insulation, like the big sheets of foam insulation, that, especially the ones that you would use for the bathroom. I don't know why, but those are good. They're usually, sometimes they're green. But you can cut them. And again, here's the thing, that if you're going to make some investment, a hot knife. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Let's praise Jesus just for this moment right here of a hot knife. Because if you start cutting up styrofoam and you think that we told you to do that, it's going to not end well for us, because it's a mess. A hot knife is if you're building sets, it is an initial pretty good, I would say, I don't know, my gosh, like $30. I know they're not cheap, but you will use it over and over and over.
Yes.
And but those cut right through that insulation. It holds together better than styrofoam. When I like dollar store, the Dollar Tree to me is, I go there, like I think they know me by name, and there's a ton of, even if it's just like you're building something and you need a ton of paper plates, or it's amazing. The oops paint, and here's is kind of we talked about a little bit tips and tricks, but know who your people are at your church, because my husband is an avid yard saler. I could go in my garage right now and I could build a set with the stuff that he has in our garage, and even sometimes when we had a couple years ago, a friend that was going to do something for Orange Conference, and she needed old building blocks, like, ABC blocks. So I said, hey, when you're yard selling, can you look for that? And he came up with some amazing things that were like $1. So, awesome. So, know who your people are. And if you can work ahead a little bit, think about what are things that we might need in the future. If you have that person that yard sales, just give them a list. Like, hey, here's things I think we might use. Teachers that, sometimes schools will just get rid of a bunch of stuff at the end of the year. I don't want to say start scavenging in people's trash, but I may or may not have.
But it's an option.
It's an option. I may have picked things up off the side of the road. I'm just going to put that out there. It's okay. If it looks fairly clean, put your gloves on, have your Lysol. It's okay. But just, know your people and know who might have what. I have a church in Pennsylvania that has a guy that builds sets. He doesn't work with the kids, but he just, told the leader once, hey, I'm pretty good with woodwork. He's pretty good. Pretty good. But he doesn't charge them anything. I don't think this guy anything charges them for the wood, but know your people and your resources, and get the oops paint, and ask, and the hot knife. Ask some person that's feeling real generous and wants to do something, to say, did you buy us a hot knife? Because that'd be good.
I love it.
I'll jump on those. That whole idea of knowing what's coming up is huge. If you can just have, know a few months out, like I know, coming up in, next month, we're going to be doing this theme or that. Because when you are walking through, Home Depot for another purpose, and something catches your eye and you think, oh, that would be perfect. So as much ahead as you can be thinking of what we would like to do in a room, whether it's specific to a month of curriculum or just how you would like to decorate your room, even if it's seasonally, just something different. Knowing what you would like to do coming up gives you, just that margin that when you happen to see something, you're going, oh, that'll work, later.
Yeah.
Doing that. And then I am the cheapie of when I was excited we finally got some budget. I don't want to spend it because I have a little budget now. I need to save it. So I want to spend, but after every holiday, I look for any big things that are marked down that I can save for future use, because so much of that is going to be seasonal things that you can work into some plan that you have later. I may have been known to plan an entire session around some things I found that were super cheap, that were this race car theme. And I may or may not have planned an entire week's kids programming camp around a race car theme because I found such a great deal on all the decor that we have this amazing thing that it was 90% off. It's like, I don't know why, but we're going to use all of this. And then we just went around it. Not know that that's a great theological approach, but I just felt like it was put in my path. God knew, he directs our steps, and he knew this was going to be there. But yeah, I mean, hearts after Valentine's Day, there's always going to be things that we'll need for hearts and stuff, but anything like that especially again, that thing that, there's something big. And then you find out who has space in their garage to store it for you. So you can have somebody who will keep it. But yeah.
Storage. Yes. Yeah.
That's the fun part.
One thing I thought of that it seems like I always failed to take advantage of at the end of the summer was inflatables. Because like, when I've seen people decorate with like the giant donuts and the, giant animals, and then like at the end of the summer, always when they were like the 80% off, I know. So learn from my mistake and buy those things because they're flat, but those are those big impact things that, if you can, so many, that and pool noodles. Okay.
Pool noodles. Who knew? Like they have so many uses.
And get them at the end of the summer though, because at the beginning of the summer, there's no way that really costs that much. Right. But at the end of the summer, yard sales again, you can do a lot with a pool noodle, and they're cheap or free depending on where you go.
I love it. I used to, when I had a list of things that were a little bit odd, but I knew I needed, I made friends with our Salvation Army thrift store managers. So that anytime something came in that I could somewhat use, they'd give me a call and I would have first dibs.
Yay.
Which meant I drove around with real weird things in my car that you would not, randomly take home, but it's just making use of those relationships. Anytime a core had a good relationship with a random company or local business, I would let them know, hey, if you're ever throwing away anything like this, this, and this, I would love to take it off your hands and I can get you that tax receipt for a donation that I can help out with that. Like just trying to keep those things in mind and letting the community know what I was looking for. Because if it's just me trying to find it, it's kind of based on my luck of what I can see on my own time. But when I kind of put out feelers for everyone of if anyone's on the off chance that they see this, Gay, love you mentioned like knowing your people. Who knows what is hiding in people's basements? Many things. Many things. My best friend had a random mannequin. I used that for one of our events. She happened to work at Gap. She took home a mannequin one day. It happened to end up on my stage. I don't know how it happened. Like whatever, beg and borrow. I'm not saying steal, but if you see it on the side of the road, like Gay to Cerrone, pick it up. Like whatever you can. I love it. I love just making it accessible. It doesn't have to be over the top, doesn't have to be crazy. We aren't competing with Disney. We're just kind of stealing their ideas. I think that's like the best thought process that we can have. But I want to say thank you to you two so much. I learn from you every time that I chat with you. But if anyone is interested in asking for more ideas, want more thoughts, just give me an email at jackie@thinkorange.com and I would love to connect with you guys. Thanks so much.